Welcome to another Fest interview. Today we continue with the run of several industry professionals sharing their perspectives on the future state of the international film industry. Today we have a true legend of European cinema, the British director Ken Loach, the man behind hits such as Land and Freedom, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, or I, Daniel Blake. We sat down with him to discuss what he thinks will be the future and the real outcomes of this experience of the pandemic.
So, Ken, can you tell us how and when did you first become aware that this epidemic was the real thing?
It was a gradual dawning, I think, wasn't it, from January onwards, once we saw what had happened in China. There were people who said this is going to spread. Unfortunately, governments were not among them, and our government in particular, and just refused to plan. So now we're in a real mess.
Your work has always been seasoned by a great sense of outrage and social justice. But in my view, you've always seemed to me quite an optimist at the same time. And even though are very uncertain times, are you hopeful in any way in regards to the future and the results of this experience?
I don't know. I think it's complicated. I mean, I think it brings out the best and worst in people. I mean, we see a lot of the best, of people in the medical profession who really risk their lives every day. So that brings out the best in people. It brings out the best in neighbours. We talk to our neighbours much more than we have been doing. And because we're old, they come and ask if we want anything, and that's very nice. So people recognise each other's needs, in a very human way. It's brought out the hypocrisy in the politicians because they keep saying how brave the health workers are and how thankful they are and all that, but actually they've refused to plan for this because they're free marketeers, basically. They don't believe in planning, they believe in the markets. Well, clearly the market can't provide all the answers. So on the one hand, it's led us to not being able to deal with the endemic, the health crisis as well as we should, because we didn't plan and we didn't take the medical advice seriously. But then they panic, and start calling for volunteers. Who can make these protective clothes and protective shields? There's the chaos produced by an economic system that just won't plan, can't meet a crisis except with a panic. It shines a light on political processes.
And is that a good thing for you?
Well, it's good if we take advantage of it. It's wasted if we don't. And sadly, we've had a big setback in the left, where the very principled left leader of the main left party lost heavily at the election because the whole establishment, the whole press and broadcasting turned against him, and members of his own party turned against him. So it means that what people are learning in this crisis will not be carried into political change, because once it's over, the people with an interest in keeping things as they are will be in power. Because there's no point in learning about being good neighbours if we can't translate that into political change. Going for common ownership, democratic control, producing for need and not for greed, as they say. Really changing the infrastructure so that it's a green infrastructure, not one that will destroy the environment, and so on. If we can't take the lessons into political change, then the lessons are lost.
How do you think film audiences are going to react to this? And by this, I'm asking, do you think that they perhaps will be looking for a more communal and collective experience after this time locked inside the house?
Well, I expect they'll be very diverse. I mean, some will just want a night out. People will have been confined, they'll have been in danger, they'll have loved ones who have died. They just want a relief. So I think that's an inevitable first reaction. I think the other danger is that it will strengthen the seeing films in your home and weaken the idea of going to the cinema. And for me, films have to exist in a cinema with an audience. Being in an audience, if If there's laughter, then that's contagious. If there's shock, if there's whatever the emotion is, pity, sadness, anger, whatever the emotion is, it's much stronger if you're in an audience and it's a collective response. Certainly for laughter, laughter is contagious, isn't it? Supporting the cinemas as whether you watch a film collectively, I think that's a fundamental requirement after we emerge from this.
How do you think the local scene in Britain will be affected by these circumstances?
I don't know, Fernando. I really don't know. I mean, I think, again, if we don't make structural changes in the way we get support, we get financial support, the independent films will continue to decline, and the big studio films will continue to monopolize the cinemas. And we need big structural changes. We can't plan what multiplexes are going to do if they're owned by multinational companies. So, I mean, I'd like to see, not with this government, I'd like to see like cinemas owned like theatres in towns and cities, and that every town should have a really good cinema at its heart, with several screens where you can see world cinema, you can see the indigenous cinema, which is British cinema, you can see European films, the great, see good American films. There are some, I'm sure, films from all across the world, and really, really make the culture of cinema, worldwide culture of cinema, available for everyone. And then, if films can be shown, then they would be made.
What measures do you think that can be taken to protect crews and casts in a film set in the near future?
First of all, join a union. If you're in a union, then someone can negotiate for you and make the demands you need for your safety. If you're all individuals, if you don't want to take a risk, you'll lose your job and somebody else will take the risk and get the job. Of course, a lot of people get into the industry by working for production companies who exploit people, all the time anyway. Work for us for nothing and improve your CV, improve your qualifications. Well, that's no good, because you still have bills to pay. A union will protect against that. Absolute safety at work is fundamental. I mean, a union can protect against that. I mean, I think we start from the basis that some production companies will care little for their workers, some will care a little bit, but when they need to take shortcuts, they will take them. And it's very rare that a film company will put in safety of its workers before everything, because that can jeopardize your capacity to keep to your schedule. And if you can't keep to the schedule, you'll go over budget. And then, the accountants get angry. And filming is a very volatile business. It's full of demands that you can't foresee, unlike other industries.
Obviously, writers are also locked inside the house. What do you think? Do you think that this can produce or yield interesting results in terms of writing?
Oh, God, I don't know. I mean, anything can produce interesting results from writers. Probably the interesting films about this have been imagined in the past. We've had a lot of disaster movies, haven't we? People walking through empty streets where everyone's gone. I don't know. There are cliches waiting to be filmed, I'm sure. What interests me is the social situations and the politics behind it. I mean, the further to the right the politicians go, the more they blame everyone else. I mean, Trump is the prime example.
Sure.
And again, national characteristics become apparent. The British ruling class is nothing if it's not hypocritical. I mean, they will praise the health workers to the skies now, but when the nurses put in for a pay rise, then they'll be holding the country to ransom. Is the phrase.
Do you think that this could produce some sort of a shift?
Yes, it inevitably makes a difference because it's a huge experience. It won't have a transformational effect unless it can be built into our society, and that is always politics. You know, I mean, after the 1945 war, people said we never again. We're not going back to the poverty of the 1930s, and we're not going back to the horrors of the war we've just fought in. And society was transformed in many ways. We established in Britain, we established a National Health Service where everybody paid taxes and everybody was treated free when they needed healthcare. Free schools, public ownership of the transport system. The whole infrastructure of working together was embedded in political change because people didn't want to return to the past. They wanted to build a new society. The impulse for a new society based on recent experience was built into political change, and it happened. If we go back to a right-wing government like Boris Johnson or the other right-wing governments throughout Europe, those lessons will not be turned into the lessons of solidarity and the good neighbourliness and supporting each other, and that won't be built into the change because we've got a right-wing government. You know, they don't believe in that. They believe in the market. They believe in everybody on their own. You know, they'll say the words now, but the economic system won't change because that's their fundamental ideological position.
Do you think that this experience will produce or open the gate for different kinds of films to get made?
I mean, I think that there'll be an opportunism. I mean, the big investors, you know, the big commercial films will see it as an opportunity to make a film that somehow is in touch with the mood of the times. Whether there are good films made about it, I don't know. I mean, who knows? You know? Who knows?
How have you been filling your time these days?
But I find reading quite difficult now because my eyesight's not great, so that's difficult. So I've been trying to read stuff. The emails keep coming in, and I'm very slow to reply. So that's something else that's taken our time. You can go for a walk. I mean, we're allowed out to go for a walk an hour a day. So I've been, we've been, Leslie, my wife and I have been walking up over the hills near where we live. We're lucky to live quite near the country. And I feel for the people who live in cities and particularly live in apartments with no access to the outside, to a green space. I mean, that must be desperate. I mean, really desperate.
I hope that we'll be able to have you in Portugal soon, whenever all of this finishes.
Very good. Well, I hope. And are you staying reasonably safe in Portugal? I haven't heard the figures.
Portugal, it's to be fully honest, I'm very surprised with the way our government is reacting. They've been very competent and responsible, and they've managed to control this as much as is controllable, considering Spain is doing.
Yes, I mean it's worrying that Spain is relaxing the lockdown so soon because, I mean, why won't it spread quickly again? I mean, I hope it doesn't, obviously, because a lot of people will die, but you feel that is a danger.
It is for sure. It's inexplainable. I don't understand. They didn't really. It appears to me they didn't fully learn the lessons from Italy. Here we certainly did.
Right.
They've done some really great things. I'm really surprised with our government.
Yes, I mean that's brilliant, brilliant. No, well done. Oh well.
Well, I didn't have much to do with it, but yeah, we're doing good. But yes, thank you so much, and it was great to
talk to you, Fernando. All the best.
Have a great day and keep safe.
Okay, and you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.